Hello, everyone. My name is April Dodd, and I'm sure you're here because you want to empower and improve your students' writing. Well, try BoomWriter, where students collaborate with their writing in a fun way. It is for 2nd through 12th grade, any subject, any device. And as I said, my name is April Dodd, and I will be your presenter today. My I3 partner is Lindsay Matthews. She's not here, but I have the wonderful Mr. Brian Dean, who stepped in to moderate for me. So I'm a teacher at Caldwell Elementary, and Lindsay is a teacher at a librarian at Back Elementary. Lindsay had an unexpected event, like I said, and she won't be here, so Mr. Brian is going to moderate. At Caldwell, most classrooms have the teacher iPad, 4 to 5 Chromebooks for students to use, the computer lab, and a grade level tray for iPads. Third through fifth grade also have the iPad carts to use. At Back Elementary, they pretty much have the same thing. Okay, so what is BoomWriter? BoomWriter is a user-friendly collaborative tool for students with writing. You must have at least 5 students. It can be used on an iPad, a tablet, a Chromebook, or a desktop by logging onto the BoomWriter website. Each student has their own login. It can be linked to the classroom, to Google Classroom. It's interesting because students can collaborate with writing and publish their work in groups. So I want to give you a little overview of BoomWriter. So BoomWriter is a web-based tool where students will assess their peers. Okay, so students have student story starters. Once the students have the story starters, they will write their story, and it has to be approved by the teacher. So the teacher is going to approve each one of the students' writing before it's published. Students read each other's writing without knowing whose it is. Once they've read it, they get to vote on who's the best one, and the winner is picked. Then the teacher goes back in and she publishes the work for the student. The students repeat the process until all the chapters are published in the book. And you can publish the book, as many books as you like, and they can repeat the process as many times as they like. Okay, so how teachers can use BoomWriters. Some ways teachers can use BoomWriter is, like I said, an effective instructional tool where teachers use it to monitor students' progress, provide individual feedback, and personalize instruction from anywhere. It provides helpful guidance notes to groups prior to each writing phase. Create relevant practice and application opportunities for specific and/or understandings covered in class. And you can use it across all subjects. So it's just not limited to writing and ELA. You can also use it in science, where students, you can give them sentence stems and they can write about something that you've investigated. You can use it in math where you create problems for them, and they can also write about those. You can limit the amount of writing that they do. I believe the minimum was 50, but it goes all the way to 500. So BoomWriter covers the ISTE standard of creative communicator, where students communicate for a variety of purposes and a variety of methods. They express ideas and generate learning artifacts, communicate with digital platforms and appropriate to the audience. So we're always trying to get those students to be creative communicators. And with it being at least 5, a minimum of 5 that has to do it, they are collaborating. So how to get started? Once you want to log in and create your account, you will go to www.boomwriter.com. You click the Get Started with BoomWriter today, and then you create an account. Pretty simple. Once you create your, get ready to create your account, you will see the screen that looks like this, where it says, let's get started. You'll put your email in and then create a password. And then be sure to read the agreements that they have and the terms that they have for BoomWriter. After you've done that, be sure to check the securance, because mine went straight to the email there. And so you'll have to release it from securance in order to be able to use it. And then it'll provide a link for you to click so that you can activate your account. So to create student accounts, you click Students at the very top, then Manage, and then finally Add Student. And you will go in and add each student if you want to, or if you want to do small groups, or you can link it to Google Classroom. It also has the ability to do that, so that you don't have to go in and click individually each student and add them. Once your student accounts are created, you'll see the Let's Get Started page, where you will write a story, where they can write a story, develop students' vocabulary. So that's another thing that's great about BoomWriter. You can also add like a word wall for them to use the vocabulary while they're writing. And you'll also see the part where it says strengthen and assess students' knowledge. This is pretty much your school homepage. So it's going to have your school on the right side. It has notifications. And once you publish books, they'll be available in the bookstore. Here's where the fun starts, where you get to assign the stories for students. So you can click Start a New Story. If you have something that you're working on in the classroom and you want the students to write on that, for instance, if they're creating a biography, an autobiography, anything of that sort, you create your own story. BoomWriter also has some generic ones built in, or you can click on and use their story starters. The good thing about this is they have tons of stories that you can use. You just pick the one that is best for your students to start with. And these change, because when I did this a month ago, it was one story that was there, and then I went back in this week to check it, and they have new stories added to it. And I believe they change monthly. So assigning the stories, if you're going to create your own story start, you will have the opportunity to give it a title, and then decide the level that you're going to use on it. And then you have the categories: action and adventure, fantasy, humor, mystery, myths and monsters, romance, science fiction, suspense and thrillers, realistic stories, historical fiction, and sports stories. Again, pick the one that's best for your age group. Remember, this goes from 2nd grade all the way to 12th grade. So I'm thinking 2nd grade, not so much romance. So, like I said, they have generic story starters where you can click on. This was done in the month of February, so you'll see where they have Melcher Candy Heart, and they also have Black History Month. So these are some story starters that you can use. And each month they put a different one that they think that the students will be able to use and that they'll enjoy writing also. They have resources, the word writer resources, and then the story writer resources also. Another thing that I like about BoomWriter is they have lesson plans. You know, sometimes all the time we're trying to figure out, what are we going to do next? What's a better idea than what I already have? They have lesson plans that you can use, and it has a grade book setting. So this was one of the stories. This was one that they already had predetermined, The Great Treasure Hunt. And it has basic information for it where you can use. And here's where you edit the writing settings where the word count, where how many words you want them to read. So as I said, the lowest that you can go is 40, but the maximum that you can have, I believe, is 500. So I edited mine with my second graders, something simple, and it was easy for them to do, was just to put 40 words because they're still developing that stage. So they're not going to be able to write novels with 500 words at this point. But as it progresses, you can always go back in and change it to where it has more words. And then also with the story starters, you can upload supporting materials from Google Drive. So we love those Google Drives so that you don't have to carry all of those things around with you. You can just save it to a Google Drive and then upload the document from there. And then you set the deadlines of when you want this due and when they have to have it completed by, so that they are not rushing through it, or so that they know they need to pick up the pace a little bit. Okay, the student view. They are going to love this student view because even just for logging in, they already get $30 of Boomer Bucks. Boomer Bucks are used to customize their boomers. These are their little avatars that they use. And you know, this day and age, we all love those. So as you can see, this one's pretty basic. He needs some hair, or she needs some hair. She needs some clothes. So the more they write, the more they get the chance to earn the points. So once they start writing, they will earn points. Once you start grading, they'll earn points. And then when their friends pick, if they win for voting, they also get points for those. BoomWriter also has the ability to do word writer. This is where you're adding vocabulary words that you want them to focus on. And it also has a project writer where if you want them to write together on a certain project, you have that ability to do that as well. Another view with the student view, once they log in and they start their writing process, they are going to read a chapter, a pre-written chapter that's already there. So they read to understand what are they going to write about. So this gives them a little guidance so that they're not just writing any and everything. So after they read the little chapter, they are going to then start to write about that chapter. Okay, so like I said before, you set the deadline. You have the maximum words. This one I hadn't changed. This was just the one that I screenshot from the original one, which was 500 words. And then it tells you, another great thing about this is it tells you exactly what to do. You just read the instructions. The students read the instructions. They know exactly what's expected from them and what to do. And then if you hover at the top, they get to see where they write, they read, and then they even have access to the report card piece. And then they have a link so that they can click on their boomer. So writing their chapter. When students get ready to write or type their chapter, they are going to see a screen like this. As soon as they start typing, it's going to populate onto the screen. And then the students get the option at the bottom to save it and to turn it in. If they're a little confused and they don't remember what to do, it even has the part to where they can click for the directions again. How amazing is that? How many times do they ask us, what am I supposed to do? So this helps them so that they're not always coming to you asking what to do. After they've written their story, you have the opportunity to approve it. Their story will not be published for anyone to view, so their friends won't be able to look at it or vote it until you have approved the entry. And you also have the option to give them feedback. So make sure you're reading those, give them feedback. If it's something you want them to change on it, they can also give feedback. You can give feedback with that. And the students, when they log in, will be able to see that. So after you've approved it, you will start the voting. And this is where the students will love to read each other's writing and vote. But they won't know who they're voting for. So it populates all of them. There's no names on it. They just get to pick which one they think is the best. After voting, you will come back to this screen, and it will tell the students, thanks for voting. And then they get 2 Boomer points. So they even get points just for voting. After every student has finished voting, you as the teacher will go back in and end the voting period. So they have a time limit on that also. So you end the voting period, and then it will calculate who is the winner. Once the winner is selected, you will come to the publish chapter part. And this is where you will publish that person's or that student's chapter. So when you publish the chapter, it shows exactly what they wrote. And you can edit it if need to. You can request for them to revise it also if you need for a student to do that. And then that student gets Boomer points. So here's another example of writing samples. This one isn't so long. This was another one of the shorter examples that we have. And then, like I said earlier, there is a part to where there's a student report card. So the student report card tells what entries they've done, when they published it, and it also has a part for feedback. So it gives them checks for each one, for each chapter that they've done. If they haven't done it, you get to see easily if they haven't done it, because it simply has an X that tells you if they haven't done this, go tell them to pick up the pace, get to work. If you are looking at this page, you have the option to share it with parents, and parents are going to love this because you can email it to them, and then you have an access code to share with them, and parents are able to purchase these books, these chapters from the kids. This has a store where you can buy things from the bookstore. They have different things that you can purchase there. But the main thing that the parents are going to be interested about is published work from their child. They want to purchase those. If something didn't go so well and you don't want it to be published, you have the option to pause the progress or delete the project. So you can delete it before it even gets there. As the teacher, you have the option to send a letter to parents. It automatically has a pre-made email template that you can use to the parents. So you really don't have to think too much with BoomWriter. BoomWriter has everything for you. When they finished, you start the next chapter and you repeat until the book is completely finished. And then, like I said, you publish the book, and then once published, parents can purchase the book. Any questions? Okay, be sure to follow us on Twitter at Library Lindsay and at an.2014. Okay, now Brian is going to post the CPE credit link in the chat window. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope that you took some information away and that you use BoomWriter with your students. Thank you.